It seems like everywhere you turn these days, Bossman Dlow is there, right?
Yeah, seems like it.
Social media, the radio. You can't escape him.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Well, we're going to do a deep dive today and see why everyone's talking about him, why he's causing such a stir in the hip-hop world.
Mm-hmm.
Is he just surface-level party vibes, or is there something more,
Yeah.
a deeper impact, maybe even some unintended consequences?
Well, one of the things about D'Lo that's really interesting, I think, is just how fast it all happened for him, you know?
Yeah.
It seems like he just blew up overnight,
Uh-huh.
almost entirely on the back of Get In With Me.
That's right. Yeah.
And when someone has that kind of rapid rise to fame, it really puts them under the microscope,
Yeah.
especially in hip-hop, where authenticity and that come-up story are so important.
That's right. It wasn't a slow build for him at all.
Right.
So to make sure we all know what we're talking about, let's actually hear a little bit of Get In With Me,
Yeah.
that track that launched him to stardom.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what do you think it is about D'Lo's music that connects so strongly with younger listeners?
Yeah.
What is it that's drawing them in?
Well, I mean, you can definitely hear the appeal, right? It's high energy, super catchy beat, and the lyrics lean really hard into celebration. You know, money, cars, the high life.
Hmm.
And I think that really taps into something that we're seeing a lot right now, this kind of cultural fascination with hustle culture, entrepreneurship, and achieving a luxurious lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you see the same mentality all over the place. It's not just in music. You see it with, the rise of all these financial influencers online and the popularity of those entrepreneurship podcasts, even just in the way that companies and brands are marketing themselves these days.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Isn't this kind of thing like a tale as old as time, though?
Mm.
Doesn't every generation have their own form of music that the older generation finds objectionable?
Right.
Like, I'm old enough to remember when rock and roll was considered, the devil's music.
Absolutely. And there are definitely some parallels to be drawn there. But with D'Lo, there's this very specific concern that some critics are raising about the potential negative impact of this kind of celebratory rap, what some people are even calling toxic rap.
Toxic rap. Okay, so can you unpack that a little bit? What are people specifically taking issue with when it comes to D'Lo?
Yeah, so the term toxic rap, when critics use that phrase, they're often talking about lyrics that really glorify things like violence, drug use, or misogyny.
Right.
And they're worried about the influence that could have, especially on younger, more impressionable listeners. With D'Lo, it's not so much about those themes, though. It's more about this laser focus on material wealth, this idea that success is measured almost entirely by how much money and how many possessions you have. So the concern is that this could promote unrealistic expectations and maybe even lead to some harmful behaviors in the pursuit of that lifestyle.
Right.
Another criticism that some people bring up is that this focus on material success might distract from the deeper societal issues that hip hop has traditionally addressed, things like poverty and inequality and systemic racism.
So we've heard from the critics, but on the flip side, there's also the argument that D'Lo's music can be seen as inspiring. What's fueling that perspective?
Right. So this is where things get really interesting and more nuanced. For listeners who are facing challenges in their own lives, seeing someone like D'Lo, who came from humble beginnings, achieve this level of success, even if that success is defined primarily by material wealth, it can still offer a little bit of hope.
Right.
It can be a really powerful symbol of upward mobility, that it is possible to achieve your dreams, whatever they may be. And some of his lyrics actually do touch on his own personal struggles and the hard work that he put in to get where he is.
Yeah.
And that really resonates with people. It can feel very empowering and motivating to hear that.
It seems like we're kind of stuck in this back and forth, right? Celebrating success, but also questioning how we define success.
Yeah.
Especially in a genre like hip-hop that's always been about representing the realities of life, both the struggles and the aspirations.
Exactly. And I think this whole debate around Bossman Dlow really highlights this larger conversation that's happening in hip-hop right now. Can an artist who celebrates material wealth still be a positive force? Can hip-hop balance being entertaining with having a social conscience?
Right.
There's no easy answer there, and it's something that the genre has been wrestling with really throughout its evolution. I mean, if you look back, you see all these different waves and subgenres, each prioritizing different things.
Yeah.
You had the conscious rap of Public Enemy and A Tribe Called Quest, and then the gangster rap of NWA, and now this wave of trap music with artists like D'Lo.
So it's not just about D'Lo himself. It's about the evolving role of artists and their music and reflecting and even shaping our cultural values. It makes you wonder where D'Lo goes from here. As his career continues, will his music evolve? Or will he double down on what's working?
And that's the million-dollar question, right? Will he lean further into the fun aspect, or will his music mature to incorporate more substantive themes?
It's definitely something to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
And for those of you listening, we'd love for you to think about this. What role do you think music plays in reflecting or even shaping our cultural values? And as listeners, do we have a responsibility to be more critical of the messages we consume through music? There's a lot to unpack there, and we encourage you to keep the conversation going.
Yeah, think about it.
That's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.